Now, in your mind's eye, I want you to go into the sphere of your life's work.
Connected to the core of me.
And if you don't know what the gene key is, that's totally okay. You don't need to know. Use your intuition. I want you to feel this energy that is calling to you to bring your highest self out into the world in service. Feel that call. Moving a bit deeper now into the sphere of our evolution. Feeling that proverbial rock in our shoe that is actually the pearl contained within an oyster. This irritation that constantly shines the light of our soul. Trusting in that place. Going deeper into our unconscious now, to the sphere of our radiance, where we can connect to our inner light. We can feel that light within our DNA, waiting to be unleashed out into the world. Down into the deepest cores of our being, to our purpose. This quality of being that unlocks all the auras that through the sphere of attraction are called into our lives. There's nothing that you must do except to be yourself. Moving up that sphere of attraction now. That hidden force that calls exactly what's needed into our lives. Feel in to that magnet. Feel its field. Feel its frequency and know exactly what that frequency is exactly what is being called in, and the external events are matching it. Notice it, whatever it may be, whether you're happy about it or not, just notice. To our IQ now, our psychology, these rigid structures that we lay over reality. Connecting to that mental body, noticing what's in the mental field around us. The water eye now, to the watery depths of the EQ. Feel into that sacral chakra. Feel into that sexual, creative energy. Feel the vibrations flow through your body, up and down your spine. Your SQ. Give the option to hold your hands over your heart. Feel this divine energy that lives deep in the center of our heart, emanates out so much wider than your physical body or even your aura. Infinite directions, infinite distance. That is the level of impact of your heart. Moving deeply now, deeply into the sphere of our core. A sacred wound that connects us all. Touch that wound. Look at it. Honor it. seek to understand it. There's nothing to be scared of. There to help you remember. Spirit of our culture, we learn how we best connect to the whole. We begin to call in our soul family and tribe. Feel into that vibration, the vibration of your soul family, even if it may not be manifested yet. Feel its vibration. Know that it's simply waiting for you to take the initiative. Finally, the heart of our pearl, spiritual harvest, this gift from the gods that comes online when we find our balance, when we find our home, when we see clearly that I am you, you are I, and all is one. Coming back to the breath. Deep inhales. Deep exhales. Mother, Father, God, Father, Mother, Goddess. We come before you with reverence, in unity, asking for your grace, for your guidance, for your love. I ask that you open my channel. I ask that you open the hearts and minds of all present for this call. I ask that you bring the energy of courage, peace, and love. We honor you for all that you do. Oh, coming back into our bodies now. Feeling your butt in the seat or back on the floor. Feeling our feet on the floor. Feeling our hands. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Take your time. Ooh, that one ran deep for me, and I was the one talking. Okay. So for today, you're welcome, Chantel. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me the space to do it. I really appreciate it. I am feeling, as I said, a bit more of the masculine energy in me today for whatever reason, whatever way, shape, or form. And my intention is to hold a bit of that energy today, which means I might come across a bit sharper than maybe you're used to. And it will be infused with a deep love and a deep care. It's just going to be direct. That's all. So next up, I want to offer a couple of prompts to write a couple of things down. So if you have a pen and paper, great. You can do this on your computer. That would be fine too. If you need to turn off your video for a second to do that, that's fine. Or worst case scenario, you can just think through these things. So firstly, I want you to, and I'm going to give you about a minute or maybe, a minute or so, and answer or fill in this blank. I feel most stuck in my life in this area, blank. So take a minute and just tune in deeply into your body. And feel for where is this area of stuckness. However you want to take that. I was thinking as in like work or money, but also it just came to mind, maybe it's a stuckness in your body. It's an energy stuckness. Just however you want to take that. About another 30 seconds or so. Okay, now I want most to manifest blank. I want most to manifest blank. Again, take that however you would like to take it. Could be something on, something that you want to bring out into the world. It could be a relationship. It could be a feeling, whatever it is for you. I want most to manifest blank. About 30 seconds. And last one. If I chose to work on something on the call today, it would be blank. If I chose to work on something on the call today, it would be blank, meaning if you choose to engage with me in this container today, not saying that you will, just if you were to, I would choose to investigate, learn more, bring to the surface this thing. Another 30 seconds, a little less. Okay. So the intention there was to try and connect you to a struggle that you're having, right? An area of life that you're having difficulty. B, to connect you to a goal or a dream, something that you want to bring about into the world. And C, to understand where you might need help in doing one of those two things. And that gives us a bit of fodder, if you will, for our interaction today. It just came into my mind to give you an idea of what I'm thinking as far as where I'm at today. Have you guys ever seen Bashar before?
Yes.
So I'm not Daryl Anke, and that's what it feels like. If I were to put a name to it, that's what it feels like. Not to say that I'm channeling something. I don't feel that happens for me. But just to say his kind of energy and how he interacts with people is similar. I don't just naturally, I'm not ever that sharp, but that's kind of the direction. So with that being said, I would love a courageous person here to, let's go, Carol. Unmute yourselves and let's do this thing.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Something that I'm struggling with just now, and I've been feeling into, is I've heard it before that mediums, I'm in a development psychic and mediumship development circle that I go to, and the mediums eventually become ill in some way. And inquiring further, that any kind of light worker or people who are giving to others will often be ill.
Yes.
And I was asking, is there any way to mitigate it? However, I'm doing the Venus sequence at the moment, and I have the 47 key in my core, core and vocation, and 60th, which is in my IQ, which I'm dealing with just now. But also in my profile.
Let me pause you for a quick second, Carol, just to fill everybody in. Those that don't know, the 60th gene key, limitation, realism, justice. The 47th gene key, oppression, transmutation, transfiguration. Sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
No, that's all right. And both the 60th and the 47th are about transmuting ancestral and the collective wounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I've spent half of my life being ill, and most of the time housebound. I mean, you know, I've been to London and I can do things occasionally. And I'm thinking, what? And that my purpose, you know, when I've read that, reread it, apparently, can I just read out what it says?
Sure.
So you have a clearer understanding. You are here to move the world along. If you dig deep into your heart, your mind will show in image form what you've always known you're here to do. You must trust what your heart feels and your mind sees above all else in life. If you do not compromise your vision, it will begin to manifest over the course of your life, but it may take time. I'm a 6'2", like you.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that takes time. Time is not a concern to your heart, even though it is to the mind. By dint of who you are ahead of your time. So there may be aspects of your vision that will have to be taken up by others after you've gone. You are here to implement long-term goals in life, which mean that they will yield results in the far future. In this respect, your life is a sacrifice to a higher goal that transcends individual endeavour. You are part of a collective plan that is being put into form across our planet and will eventually transform our species. Therefore, take heart in what you know to be true and stand fast in your vision of the future. One day, many people will understand what it is you were doing. And I'm just how much do I need to sacrifice? And what can I give? Be useful within the physical limitations of my illness, but I also want to be useful, and I've always, you know, I've done art psychotherapy before I even knew about gene keys or being spiritual or anything else. And I've always kind of worked with people who are deemed like people with learning difficulties, with epilepsy and things like that. I mean, I've done college student stuff as well. But I've always wanted to give something, but I'm not quite sure what my purpose is and how I can use it. If it's going to be a sacrifice, then I want it to sacrifice to something that's meaningful.
So you're asking me what I think your purpose is?
Well, no, I'm just kind of saying that this is not just for me personally, which it is for me, my dealing with the sacrifice, but all of us, if we, and then I get angry because I think, okay, spirit, God, God is whatever, universe, then if all of us who are, you can see I'm getting passionate here, all of us are giving of ourselves time, as much as our heart as we can to others, we are sacrificing in some way. I mean, come on, there ought to be some way to mitigate it.
So what's your definition of sacrifice?
Oh God, I suppose not being able to do things that I want. I mean, I just want to be well enough to do things.
So you're not sacrificing, you're being a martyr. Those are two very different things. Sacrifice comes from a place of, I am offering this because it is good for me to do. And yes, I'm passing something up, but it doesn't affect me negatively. That's not sacrifice, that's martyrdom.
Right, okay. I mean, I suppose that's what it feels like. Thank you for pointing that out. I mean, I have done things in my life that I've sacrificed things for other people because it was important to them, and I have willingly stepped back and sacrificed. So I kind of really need to look at what sacrifice is.
I would say so, yes.
Yes.
Sacrifice is not something that causes us to lower our frequency. It's something that we choose to forego, or something that we choose to engage in that actually raises our frequency because it's contributed to the collective.
Right, okay.
So if your frequency is lowering when you are sacrificing, that tells you that sacrifice is not coming from your heart.
When I work with clients, I don't feel as if I'm sacrificing at all, but it just feels like I suppose I need to let go. As if I'm giving up. I need to let go, but I'm not quite sure what I need to let go of. Perhaps I see it as a punishment. I don't know. I need to explore that further. But thank you for saying your point of view. But that's where I honestly am, and I feel as if I'm not able to go further on it until I sort this out in my mind.
Yeah, well, and there's some reason, actually, to take from Bashar, there's some reason that you are choosing that particular outcome. There's some belief that is running in the background for you that is keeping you in this place of stuckness in your physical body.
Yeah.
And so really digging into what is that belief?
When you say not deserving, not worthy, are the two words that came up, which is, oh my God. Okay, I need to look at those.
Okay. I will. You're welcome. Yes, my dear. You're welcome. Keisha, I'm glad. Good. I'm always scared to bring out the masculine because I get, or have in my life, been told that I am too sharp, too hard, too harsh. You guys don't experience me that way because I've gone through quite a transition over the past handful of years. But prior to that, I was pretty sharp and pretty harsh. And so I oftentimes have trouble connecting to it now because it's gotten me into a bit of trouble in the past. So thank you. I need to hear that, Keisha. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, but I also want to say that I've always followed my heart.
You've always followed your heart.
Yes, but there have been times when I have allowed other people to not treat me well. I feel like. So, yeah.
And why do you allow people to not treat you well?
Not deserving and not worthy.
Right. Do you want to hold those beliefs?
No, not at all. So thank you for helping me to dive in and get them out.
Yes, that's it. That's where the work is, right? Then we can start to sacrifice from a place of wholeness, not from a place of I'm unworthy,
Yes.
so that I reinforce
Yeah.
that belief.
Yeah. Because it's yeah. And I think my circumstances have brought me to this, and it's good that come up, because when I started to run my business, my health deteriorated, and I was like, I've kind of paced myself and worked towards, and then my illness for the past 2 years has been, but I've learnt a whole lot in the process.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's just where I am. I obviously needed to be here.
That's it. You're welcome.
So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Val, you said be you. I'm both. That's the thing, right? I have both of those energies in me, which is, I'm a weird, interesting creature in that way. Jan said, why is sharp and harsh masculine? That's a great question. Because absolutely the feminine can be harsh in a big way. It's just a kind of different flavor of harsh.
But I think it's funny when you were specifically talking about Bashar's energy, and that's just his way of speaking or the way he's being channeled. I'm not sure if that's masculine or just his personality or just the channel or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So when you started this and you were talking about masculine energy and then the harsh, I'm like, I know for sure there's a lot of women. I mean, and then not just women, let's talk feminine energy, if we want to talk it like that, right? Who are really harsh and can be really sharp. So it's energy. I think it's a way of approaching things. Or maybe you feel like, hey, today I want to be more sharp or more direct or whatever. Is that either one or the other? No. It's just the style of how you show up. It's your presence. It's your energy, your radiance, whatever you want to call it. But why always those labels? I'm just like,
I agree. No, I agree. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Thank you for bringing that to me, because you are correct. 100%.
Also, I think, and I recognize this myself, that I have a lot of destructive energy. And I think that is required, because if you don't have destructive energy or destructive then you won't create anything new. And you destroy something before you can create something. And I think it's part of the creative process. And I feel that a lot of women in our power is being able to be destructive.
Yes, absolutely. And that's honestly my fear, is that like when I flip into this, and it's not fair because I'm taking the opportunity from all of you, but the story that runs in my head is I'm going to say something that's too harsh or too whatever, and it shuts somebody down and has the opposite effect of the intention that I want it to have. But that's not in my control, right? That's something that needs to be let go of. We're coaching the coach right now. I'm fully aware of those things. Next hand up was Sharon. I don't know if that was legitimate or not. I don't know if okay. Let's try it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Look at that.
I came back in on my phone. Francesca, you were before me, hon. Are you cool?
Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay, no problem. I will go next. Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Cool.
you.
On my list, you were in front, but as long as that's okay, yeah.
Something I don't know, but that's okay.
Okay.
Wanted to acknowledge that. Richard Rudd said something beautiful in one of his teachings along my study, and he said, the only time the physical body can truly relax is when we're consciously breathing from our belly. And the work that I do with my clients, the very first thing we do is we align our breathing, and we do a deep belly breathing, and it's really lovely. When I'm doing my restorative time, when I'm not with my clients, I'm really conscious of my own personal practices, spending time in nature, sketching. And yesterday when I was doing a sketch, I felt a sensation that was so sweet, like it was expanding inside me. And it felt so delightful, new but familiar. And in that moment, I felt like I was coming home to something I had always been, that sketching used to be, that I had forgotten. And so there's that bittersweet remembering, but then realizing for how long I have forgotten.
Mhm.
And the questions you asked us, the final prompt, if I chose something to work on with you today and in this beautiful group, and this relates to what Carol was saying, my purpose is the 19th gene key, which the city is sacrifice.
Mhm.
And the way Richard defines that in the big book is we're sacrificing our story. We're sacrificing our identity again and again and again. And in that moment of that uprising of that sweet expansion in me, there was a prior identity. So what I would love to work on is to consciously be in the presence of savoring more deeply and appreciating that all love that is. And through the breath, and Jay, you know my story. I mean, that was an invitation that was given to me. And to just drop more fully, and as one who works with people who are in crisis, I wish to come to them as a vessel of love and purity. So I think the question would be, does it really, it comes down to every moment breath, every moment, this inhaling love and exhaling into the sweetness and savor, and then inhale again, and then through skill and consciousness, working as you do, as I do, as many of us do. Can you just share your thoughts on that?
So just for clarity, you're wondering how to hold that frequency more?
Yeah. So
What takes you out of that frequency?
something that you said as I listened to your YouTube, that pendulum swing.
Mhm.
You know, it's like, oh, I want to prepare some really great food. And then it's a little bit too much of that great food. And my body responds with, oh, God, why did you eat so much of that great food? And I just wish I were empty again. And then I'm empty. And then it's that human ache of what's here on the horizontal field, you know, going to serve my parents, helping them and staying just a little bit too long to do one more thing.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden I'm caught in time or traffic. So it's that human desire.
Would you say that are you familiar with the 35th gene key, hunger?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So I would recommend that you check out the 35th gene key, which is all about this deep, archetypal, insatiable hunger that drives humanity. And it's what prompted that kind of conversation of the pendulum swing, of going from one end to the other end, because the reality is that hunger cannot ever be filled by anything in the external world by our five senses. What happens is we are having something that we want in our lives. And so then we have a hunger to be filled. And we reach out for that thing and we get it or we don't. And then the hunger just moves to something else. We want something else. But let's say we get it. It comes in, and then the hunger it's not like the hunger is like goes away, right? We all know this. So we have this goal that we're working towards. We get the goal. For me, I didn't even have a freaking dinner, right? It was just like, okay, got the goal. Now moving on to the next thing, whatever that may be, because the hunger just moved. But what ends up happening at a certain point is that you're filled up, and then the hunger moves to a desire to be empty. It's a hunger to be empty. So we go from wanting things to, I just need space. I need time. I need people to get away from me. And I just want to go within. And so it's recognizing on some level that no matter what you do, helping your parents more, for example, you're not going to be able to satiate that. You're not going to have that sense of, okay, I did it.
So there's that consciousness of that awareness where I was doing that more. I was doing it much better over the last few days. It's like, don't put one more thing in. Do this one thing well. I was prepared. I showed up for a project that I was working on site. And then even as you're saying this, I realized, and then I was starting to be sad that the project was almost over because I loved the team so much and I loved the work and I felt so purposeful. And then I was like, oh, now I've got to extract myself from the goodness. So where's the skill set? It's awareness, but is there something that more than awareness, what could we be consciously practicing? Is it as coming to the breath?
So I would say two things come to mind. One, and this is really sticking with me lately, is a reminder that even if we are not feeling the city, whatever city it is, in any given moment, it is always, always, always running in the background, right? It's our awareness. It's us that has moved away from the city. And that's by design, right? We can't function in the cities, not in like the regular world. And so what happens is we need to remember, and this is the same with the mental body. So many of us walk around living in the mental body, and we think that we are the mental body. We are the stories that we tell ourselves from the past. I am a dad. I am a Marine. I am a business owner. I am yada, yada, yada. All of that mental body stuff. And we so associate with it that we think that we are that. But in reality, what's really supposed to happen with the mental body is that we live in a space of no time, in a space of no space, oddly enough. And at a certain point, something happens in life where we need to use our mind to handle whatever it is, right? So we go out into the mind, we do whatever it is we need to do, and then we immediately come back away from the mental body, back into our heart space, our heart mind.
Okay.
And in the same way, this city, and this is kind of going back to, I'm kind of circumnavigating the practice question and going back to your original question. It's just remembering that frequency of love, whenever you're needing or ready to go into it, is there, right? It's just there and present and waiting for you. It's just waiting for you to let go of all the stuff that's been running around on the surface that you don't need for that moment. And that's the reason that you don't feel intimately connected to it in that moment, is you're not in the now. You're in some way, shape, or form worried about what you were coming from or what you were going to. And I think the practice, to go back to that piece, is it's a trial and error process. It's a trial and error process of, and so this is something that I had to work through with surfing, for example, where because waves only come at certain times, And when they're there, and when they're gone. I used to just crush my physical body and surf way longer than I could because I was hungry, right? I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to have that much fun again. And so I started to notice that, and I started to catch that hunger as it was happening in real time. And I started to adjust the boundary slowly, noticing when is the edge point where I tip over, when I get out of the Tao, if you will, right? Where I just hit that point where I have dysregulated myself in some way, shape, or form. And it's noticing that.
Or setting ourselves up to dysregulate. Like
Right.
there's a field of going too far. And so when do we enter that field, and when do we graciously, lovingly pull back?
Yes. And unfortunately, I don't know any way to do that, any way to find those boundaries except to fuck it up and to realize that you went outside the boundaries.
And then to do it well, which I did a few times over the last, yes, Valerie, yes, practices. The last few days I've been doing it well, and I'm actually feeling so much more peace versus feeling like I was missing something, missing out or not completing. I'm actually feeling more peace. And I believe, as to Carol's question, is in that peace is where we can sustain health.
Yes.
We're not jeopardizing our system. So thank you.
You're welcome, my dear. Thank you.
Thank
But isn't it also about the decisions you make in that moment? I think that there's one thing why I love the combination actually of the gene keys and human design, right? The whole energy management thing behind it, which when I listen to you, Sharon, what I hear is these emotions just play their thing. They do their thing. And when you feel you need to do the next thing for your parents, as an example, the question I'm asking myself all the time these days is literally, do I have the energy for this? And if the answer I get is a no, then you know you're about to cross a boundary. You're about to commit to something. You feel like you just go one step too far.
Yeah.
And that's what Jay was just mentioning, this whole mental thing, because what I hear you talk about is a lot about what you think. Right?
It is.
But what do you actually feel? And when you were talking about that head thing versus the body, right? When I looked at my human design chart as well, it was interesting to see that I have that split between literally the head and the body. And I've been the mind guy up until about 2 years ago, before I started to understand the whole embodiment thing. And just this listening to just asking that question, do I have the energy for this? And when my body says, Jan, you know what? Not today. This stuff on your list, beautiful, but not today. Well, then not today. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And maybe tomorrow the same thing will show up and I'm like, woohoo, let's do this. And then you look back and you're like, and yesterday I said no, and today I'm like all energy and enthusiasm. Yeah, these whole darn emotions move in waves. And at least in my case, I mean, it depends, I guess, on your type and everything around it. But just accepting that. I wake up in the morning early, start reading, writing, and sometimes I'm like, I so don't look forward to this day. And I have no clue why. And normally I would sit down and I would be like, so what is really bugging me? Is it this, or is it that, or is it the weather, or is it? And I came to the conclusion it could be anything. Do I need to know why? It's just here. And if I start occupying my mind to figure out why it is, I'm actually getting deeper into the darn feeling instead of actually saying, so what do I have the energy for? And I start doing the stuff that I want to do, and ta-da, I feel better. Isn't that magical?
Yeah,
So
and I don't.
I
Go ahead.
appreciate that, Jan. I, as a woman of practices overcoming and becoming more disciplined, and really seeing how that has taken me leaps and bounds further into my life, and that it's usually just the shadow that's saying don't do it. And then I invite the shadow to come along, and then I'm into the gift. So I tend to do it a different way, but I appreciate all you've shared. Thank you both for your time. Thank you.
You're welcome, my dear. Yeah, and I was just going to say, and this is kind of what you're speaking to, Sharon, and what I pulled from you, Jan, is that it's actually it's what you described is two different practices that we need to understand on a really deep level. The first practice is the ability to feel into your body and to actually know, you know, in Sharon's, I want to use the word defense, but that's not the right word. But like what Sharon is saying is like, sometimes we know that that's just the shadow throwing up something to keep our ego whole, intact, in place, and we need to tell it to come on, let's go. But then there's other times that it's what Jan is saying, right? And it is asking you to like, no, now is not the day or the time to do this thing. So it's one practice to understand discernment. And I have a whole video about discerning, if that is helpful for anyone on the YouTube channel. But then the other practice, which is equally as difficult, is actually honoring what you discern. Because that can be very challenging when it is counter to a past story that you have told yourself, or when it is counter to societal norms. And so you feel pressure or guilt or shame around honoring what that thing is that you internally discerned.
Nice.
You feel complete, Sharon?
I do.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome, my dear. Thank you. Francesca, up to you. Sorry that I jumped you. I didn't know. I promise.
Okay, it's okay. I don't know. I find it difficult to phrase what I want to say. It would be difficult even in my language, honestly. But let's try. I've just entered the Venus sequence. I'm new to Jinkies, just a few months, and I've now entered the Venus sequence. And first of all, I find it difficult to relate some Jinkies to the spheres. Like you just mentioned, I have Jinky 35, either on IQ and EQ.
You have both 35.
Yes, both
Okay.
35. That's on. I've been reassured somehow because of my hunger, because I'm never full. Whatever I eat, as soon as I finish, I want to start again.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I was struggling with myself and, you know, and being angry at myself because I'm never full, I'm never happy, I'm never satiated. And now, in a way, I'm kind of, okay, so I'm meant to be. So reassuring, but still, and there are a few things about this Jinky that I don't know how to interpret. Because he said that the only way out of the shadow is through love.
Mm-hmm.
Through love. But the love at the like a solar plexus system is referring to love relating to the solar plexus system. And he said that it's through a higher functioning of your solar plexus that you can experience what love truly is. Mm-hmm. So what? So what that means? I mean, by the time we move our brain or whatever into our solar plexus, I don't know how many years and decades and centuries it will take. What that means, that I have no hope to get out.
No. So you're right. Your physiology right now, your brain is in your head.
Exactly.
However, do you think that your awareness is in your head?
No idea. I don't think so. No, I think it's in the field. The awareness more in the field.
So what you're describing, though, what you're telling me is that you think that the brain needs to move to the belly in order for your awareness to move to your belly.
Okay.
Right. So this isn't about a physical movement of what holds consciousness. And even if it was, this isn't what holds consciousness.
Okay.
Right. It's about lowering the awareness down into the belly, which the best way I can describe that is take your brain and your heart and mush them together. And that's what the belly feels like for me.
Well, okay, but in practical, I mean, I don't really grasp what it's about contemplation. What is the action that I can take? I
To
can,
drop your awareness down, what is the action that you
yes,
can take?
exactly. Even because my life's work and also attraction is the same gene key, which is the third gene key, and I have this like constipation that keeps me like from going to toilet for weeks and months,
Mhm.
which is one of what the shadow. I mean, the repressive expression of that gene key is anal retention,
Yep.
and I have that also in
Mhm.
two
Mhm.
spheres, and plus I have this hunger. So, ooh,
Yeah, I mean, you intuitively know, right? You said, "What do I need to do? Do I need to meditate or contemplate?" Yes. Yes is the answer. You do. You need to meditate,
well,
and you
but
need.
do a lot. Meditation more, because contemplation is new to me. For me,
Okay.
just started jinkies, but meditation I've been doing that like I don't know 15 years every
What do
day.
you do when you meditate? How do you meditate?
I'm either sitting down and just repeating a mantra,
Mhm.
like I don't know, half an hour, more or
Yep.
less, 1 or twice a day, depending. During these 15 years, sometimes I did 3 times a day, sometimes okay, but I've been doing that regularly. Then I'm walking a lot in the nature.
Mhm.
I spend lots of time outside in the nature. Yes, I would
Okay.
say this way. And
Uh,
I'm trying to be present whatever I do, either washing dishes or whatever. I'm trying to do mindfulness like regularly.
Do you ever do, I'm going to call it open awareness meditation? Are you familiar with what that is?
No, I don't think.
So, write this down. Non-dual meditation, or Dog Chen is the school of meditation. Basically, so what you're describing, like a mantra-based practice or a practice where you focus on your breath, that's a mindfulness practice more than it's it's a meditation, but it's more mindful, meaning you are using your mental body oftentimes to redirect your focus and awareness. So your focus or awareness will wander, and then you're using your mental body to come back to a point of focus, right? So we're like coming back to an anchor over and over and over again.
Yes.
Non-dual or like open awareness meditation, there is no anchor. So you're just kind of openly drifting. And what that allows you to do is let go of the mental body entirely. And it takes time. So what you'll find in the beginning is that the thoughts, and in the similar way, you're going to wander, but then instead of going back to the anchor, what you go back to is just the now, this open, empty space. And so you're looking for sense experience in the now.
Okay.
But we're not focusing on any of those things. So in other words, what I'm trying to get is to get to a place where you are disconnected from the mental body entirely, and it is embodied fully in your physical body. So there's no breath that we're focusing on. There's no words that are going in your head. And this is extremely, or can be, difficult for people in the beginning. But then when it clicks, it is life-changing, because all of a sudden it connects you so deeply to the fact that there is no actual you, right? There is only the things that are passing in and out of our conscious awareness. That's it. That's all that's there. All the me, all the I is just our story that we associate with the things that are passing through. But what you'll see is if I feel angry, think about that statement, right? There's the me, and then there's the angry. So who is it that's feeling angry? This is what non-dual meditation helps you to see.
But, well, I have to try it, because going into the body, isn't that a sort of anchor? Anchor. Yeah.
Yes. So Where the difference is, an anchor is like we're going back to the same place in our body over and over again, or we're going back to the same sensation over and over again. And here you're just moving with whatever is, like whatever sensation you notice in that moment, which will move and shift. And eventually, that's only how it starts. Eventually, you'll be able to let go of even that, and it's just wide open. But in the beginning, it helps to notice the sense experience.
So that might be like I have like a pain in my on my shoulder, and then after a few minutes, the pain has moved down somewhere else.
Right. Or maybe an ecstasy comes in. I said, yeah. Or maybe like an ecstasy comes in, or maybe, yeah.
Pain in my hands, whatever happens throughout my body, and I focus my attention there. Let's say.
Yes.
For the time being, and for the present, in the present moment, and then I move my
Exactly.
Okay. And one more thing about the gene key 35, it has been said that it's a sort of like anomaly.
Shortcut. Yes.
A shortcut with the gene, the human genome. And so in what way? I mean, it seems like it says that we have power on this. I mean, we have power to create our life with this gene key. But so what that means? So all the others, how can we work on the other gene keys if this is the only one where we have power or upon?
So this one is the only one. So this is the shortcut because it is the leap. It is the great leap.
Okay.
The leap is seeing your life as an adventure. And I should have said this in the beginning. Those that don't know, 35th gene key, hunger at the shadow, adventure at the gift, boundlessness at the city. And if you've never investigated this gene key, it is worth your time for the exact reason that Francesca just brought up right now, which is in the text in the big book. He straight up says, you have stumbled across the only shortcut that exists in this book. And my understanding is the reason that it's a shortcut is that it is actually the old start codon. So in our older iterations of animals and maybe in older iterations of humanity, the 35th gene key was the start, which is now, and because of that, now it's just on an island all by itself. It's no longer the start codon. It codes for tryptophan, but it's all by itself. And so that's what causes the hunger, right? Because it's alone and it feels alone. And ultimately at its core, this hunger is a hunger for unity with God. Every single hunger that you feel is a hunger to be reunited. And it's just our ego and our five senses are telling us that we can solve that hunger through what we see in this 3D reality. But the reality is the only way to solve the hunger is to reunite with God. Man, I lost my train of thought there. So going back to your question. Oh, so, okay, hold on. Before I go there, the start codon now is 41, which is fantasy, anticipation, emanation.
Is my radiance.
Beautiful. So we've got two start codons in there. So I just wanted to close that loop or finish that thought. So moving now, how is this a shortcut? Well, the entire gene key system is here to teach us that our life is a mythic story. We try to make it individual. We try to make it about ourselves, to pull in the 10th gene key of self-obsession. And it's not about ourselves because there is no ourself to begin with, like I was just talking about. And so what that means is this whole journey, this whole path is coming to an understanding that we are an expression of an archetypal energy. And it's the reason that archetypal or archetypal stories are so important in culture because there are only so many archetypes, 64 to be exact. And so all of these stories teach us how these different archetypes walk their version of the adventure to end up in freedom, right? Which is boundlessness. So the shortcut is realizing that you're a superhero and that there is a happy ending, because all stories end in a happy ending. It's the reason that when a movie ends in a way that isn't happy, we feel unsettled. It's because we know the ending of the story and that wasn't it. So the shortcut here is to live your life with that knowing, by understanding that every bit of the limitation that you have in your life is you putting it there on yourself, period. What you think?
Mm. I have to go through this at a slower pace.
Yeah, sorry, I forget that I'm talking in English. I'm sorry.
No, no,
I'm sorry.
it's heavy. I mean, it's a lot. And now I was also, I find difficult to relate the, yeah, what you just said to two different spheres. It's, I don't know, it's maybe because I'm just new to the system, but
You can let go of 41 entirely. I was just bringing that up to just kind of bring in a point of comparison or a point of just interest, I guess. But no, let go, right? This, what you just did right there, that's you stuck in your mental body.
okay.
That's not, we need to get you down here. And down here does not come from trying to think through what's happening. We get down there by just being. When you're in the present moment, in the now, not fighting against what's happening, not worried, and not trying to predict what's going to happen.
What a challenge.
It is, yes. Huge. It's the reason that there's so much suffering. We are operating with an awareness that is hundreds of thousands of years old. Or excuse me, we're operating with hardware that's hundreds of thousands of years old. And that's what we're working against by trying to develop our awareness. We are fighting against our survival instinct. That is not easy work. And that's what it means when we talk about ego death. It feels like a physical death. It feels like a literal death because that is the reaction that you're having inside of your body. Is if I don't do this thing, I'm going to die. That's what's happening. If you investigate the fear on a deep, deep, deep level, you will always get there. And I hear oftentimes, I'm not afraid of death, which we'll save that conversation for another time, but I'll offer a substitution if that's what you're thinking right now. Change that to non-existence. I have a fear of not existing. So I'm not talking about a fear of the actual process of death. Those are two different things.
Wow. Okay. I think, well, that's okay.
Let me just tell you, Francesca, you are doing everything you need to be doing. You're doing what you need to be doing. Just keep going. Just keep going. Let yourself Let yourself trust in the process. Let go of the story that I've been stuck here for this long and it's never going to change.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Yes, my dear. Next, I have Alicia on the list.
Hi.
Hello. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. I'm in this funny little like blanket fort that I
Nice.
built for myself because I'm supposed to be sleeping in like pitch black darkness, and
Got it.
I live in basically like a lighthouse. That's what the whole thing was constructed
Coming
to
to
be.
you live from the blanket fort. Let's go.
Yeah, blanket fort. I'm moving right now. I realized that where I live is not a safe place for me to heal, so I'm renting out both spots, which will give me a little bit of money and flexibility, but I'm kind of freeing myself and throwing myself into the wind and seeing wherever it takes me. It's
Beautiful.
terrifying because I've had stability for so long. Um,
You
but what
haven't.
I am,
That's just pretend stability. It just feels like stability. It's not
yeah,
actually.
it, yeah, having a house is just pretend stability. Um,
Exactly.
a little, it's been a while since I've been on the road, just kind of trusting that the universe will look out for me and give me a place to be. I did work out a place to stay up until the end of March, so that's good.
Yeah.
And my stalker doesn't know where I am at this spot, so that's good too. Um, so what I got from those questions was I keep going back to my core wound of doubt, um, which is the 63rd gene key.
And it's doubt,
Um,
inquiry, truth for those that are unfamiliar.
and I think with uh, being the child of a narcissist, I'm reading this book called Trapped in the Mirror that my therapist recommended to me, and it's been really good. It's very dense. Um, but I'm having realizations about the pain that I'm choosing in my life. Um,
Good use of words.
yeah. And I did like a little in my journal while you guys were talking. I kept hearing things that were pinging off little aha moments for me. But I was writing about my doubt. And I think what I've realized is like that my ego was constructed for my survival with my narcissistic parent. Like the ego was me proving that I was worthy of his love or whatever, the way that he chooses to love people off of what they do, not who they are. And so I'm having to learn how to not be perfect anymore. But my perfection is what has kept me alive for so long. So there's this doubt in my abilities to
Who did it keep
really
alive?
go, what?
Who did it keep alive?
I mean, as a child, disconnection
Right,
from
but
your
you're
parents.
are you a child anymore?
No, I think
So right. So
that's
but my
that's
question
the
is
growth, right?
who did it keep alive? Did it keep alive you? Do you think that that's you? All those defenses and stories that you needed to build in order to protect yourself from your dad?
No.
No. So who did it keep alive? It was keeping itself alive, not you alive.
Yeah. So I have to I think I'm trying to figure out how to build new pathways because those other things are so ingrained that it's like how do you let them go? When I call my dad, lately it's been I don't have any positive news for him, and that was always the way that I got his praise, is when I gave him something that he could go brag to his friends about, basically.
Mhm.
And then him talking about how he would never say directly to me that he was proud of me. He would say, "Oh yeah, I brag about my kids all the time. I brag about how you have a house." And I'm just like, "Yeah, it's a real accomplishment in this world. It's weird." But I want freedom, and I think when the question about what I want to manifest is like a deep community that like has real touch. And I think that's what I lacked a lot in childhood, was this feeling of connectedness and touch.
Mhm.
Um I mean, there were just occasional moments in my life where riding trains with a bunch of other dirty kids, we would cuddle in a giant puddle, like on a tarp under a bridge, and that felt so lovely, just to be in connection with all these humans. Um, but those things were just, fleeting. And I think that what I really want in this world is to build some kind of a community, non-sexual touch, connection with other people, like where you cuddle each other. And I think I got a little bit of that from my hairdressing profession, because I got to give other people scalp massages and touch their heads and stuff. And so there was some level of connection. And since the pandemic, I've been completely disconnected from that. So it's like a little bit of this, like, how do I don't know, I want to build something, and yet there's still some level of doubt. I think what I imagine for myself is doing coral reef restoration somewhere in the world and being connected into a community and making meals together and having lovely interactions and doing a little bit of childcare just for the fun of it, and just being around people and braiding each other's hair and just, I don't know, having some kind of lovely connection that is centered around taking care of the earth in some way. Like, but I realize if I mention these dreams to either of my parents, they just shoot them down, and that
So
I've
Alicia,
realized.
I'm gonna push you to a question. What is your
Okay.
question? What are you needing, feeling stuck with, need support on?
Um, how how does one move forward in life without external validation? I think that is what my parents shaped for me.
Mhm. What does the external validation give you?
I think it tells me that I'm a good person or something. I don't know.
Do
I
you
guess
think
it's
you're a
like,
good person?
yeah,
So why do you need
sure.
the world to tell you that?
I guess that survival mechanism that's still kicking. I'm trying to figure out how to stop that. Like, maybe it's less about talking about what I want to do and moving forward and past that. And I think that's part of this whole move, is like actually putting my dreams into action instead of dreaming about what's possible. And like I'm pushing past like all my, I don't know,
So
perceived limitations.
what stopped you
What?
from taking action?
For a lot of years, it's been pain. It's been 10 years since I went over the handlebars of my bike and I got doored on my bicycle on the way to work. And I think it was always like, when I'm well, then I can have the life that I want. Um, and I think to some degree,
Do you want to keep waiting?
no. But I also have like a billion food restrictions. So it's just like it feels like there's a million hurdles in the way of ideally what I would be doing right now is working on a tall ship and gaining more experience, but I can't necessarily eat what would be served to me. So that's kind of, there's always little hangups in there, and I'm trying to figure out how to get past all of these things. It's, I don't know. It feels I read this book called The Anatomy of Anxiety, and she talks about the canary in the coal mine. And I think for so long I was just like, I'm too hardcore to be affected by all these chemicals that I work with as a hair colorist. Um, and then at the beginning of this year, I got my mercury fillings taken out of my teeth, and not by a holistic dentist. And suddenly I became bedbound. So it's just been I think like, it's been a spiritual journey for me, but it's also been like learning and understanding how burdened my body has become by the things that I've ignored for so long. And that, like, the buildup of toxicity in our bodies is real. I don't know.
Certainly. We're in a fairly toxic environment. And would you agree that probably 95% of us, maybe 99% of us are in that same environment?
Yeah.
And everybody's body's different. I hear you, right? But there's a reason. There's a reason that these things are happening. Do you believe that the things that are happening in the world are happening for a purpose?
Mm, yeah. I would say that getting sick definitely forced me to slow down,
Mhm.
because I don't think I would have seen my way out of all my people pleasing tendencies if I hadn't have stopped working as a hairdresser, and it's a very people pleasing job. um so
Because things just happen, right? Things just happen. Like there's no inherent good or bad to any occurrence. We're
yeah.
assigning what that meaning is to that occurrence. And so you were able to do it with you're getting sick. So now the question becomes, how are the limitations that I'm experiencing now actually the things that are propelling me towards, whether it's starting the cuddle puddle or getting on a tall ship or whatever it might be?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I just have to try. um I'm also pushing myself into a long COVID program that's going to be like a 3-month thing, and I'm hoping I learn something from there that really helps get my immune system back on track. Because, I mean, a tall ship's not going to accommodate my carnivore diet. It's just, it's outside of the realm of, and I thought about how I want to go to a meditation retreat, and I'm like, I know they're like vegan, vegetarian. Maybe they've got eggs. I could probably live off eggs.
Well, it sounds
But
like right now the work for you is to heal your body. And you
yeah,
fighting against that is just creating more suffering.
yeah, yeah. Thanks.
Go ahead, Carol.
Thank you. I'm just checking that I've grasped this correctly. It sounds like you have long COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some kind of long COVID dysautonomia type of thing.
I have ME, and I have a lot of
Okay.
good information. Because my understanding of long COVID is they're treating it very similar to how they treated ME initially, where it's been debunked. So I can give you I can send you, if you like, if you put your details, I can send you, you're on Facebook, are you?
Yeah.
Could you just put your name and so that I can find you on Facebook, and I'll give you some links to really good information that you can
Groups?
peruse. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank
Thank you,
you.
That'll
Carol.
help you for your health.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Just got to handle what's with you, Alicia. We're not ready for the other stuff quite yet. You know, no point in
Yeah.
fighting against it. I know that you wish that it was another way, but it's not another way.
Yeah, I think sometimes I want to tell myself it's psychosomatic and I try to push myself outside of it. And then I realize it is a real health thing that I'm going through. And
Right. I mean, it doesn't matter if
I
it's
think that's just the
psychosomatic.
way that everybody else treats me. You know, like doctors treat me like, oh, all your markers look fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you seem perfectly healthy. And I'm just like, well,
Yeah.
if you had to live in my body, I think you would feel differently.
Totally. Exactly. And it doesn't matter whether it's psychosomatic or not, because regardless, you're creating the symptoms, right? Like the symptoms are there. And so whether it is an energetic thing or it's a physical thing, what's it matter? You know, it doesn't. What matters is that you heal and that you become fully yourself again. Like, I'm going to be honest, Alicia, chances are it is a manifestation of something energetic. So, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a real issue that you have to get to the bottom of.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how I feel about my tension in my body, especially my low back. That's how I feel about like people with ongoing headache issues. That's how I feel. Like almost any chronic condition is more than likely something that is energetic in nature in some way, shape, or form. But that, again, that doesn't really matter because the symptoms are real. I'm not saying that the symptoms aren't real, right? Please don't take it that way. And so whether it's traditional medicine, my gut is traditional medicine isn't going to do a damn thing for you.
Yeah.
And I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on the internet. Don't take that as medical advice. But also there are other ways to go into these types of things. And being the energetic being that you are and the level of connection you have to your spirit, I really encourage you to poke around at what some of those things might be.
Okay. Carol?
Thank you. It's just that I would recommend whether it's energetic or some form of disease that we don't understand yet, that I would recommend not pushing your body beyond its limits, whatever it is, because you're asking too much. And from personal experience, I know the effects of that, and many other people, because I've had this for half of my life. So yeah, I've got experience and I've read tons of stuff on it. So that's
We sure do a lot of reading.
yeah, I know.
When you're bedbound, what else do you have other than your mind to try to help you to get through it?
Exactly.
Um,
And I'm very glad that you're able to read when you've been bedbound.
yeah.
Yeah.
Little hard on my neck. I haven't quite figured out something to help hold all the books or the phones and things while I'm reading, but if I can find an audiobook, that is the best.
There are. I'll send you some stuff. Let's
I'll put my name in the chat, and then I'll also add where I live so that you can find me on Facebook.
Okie dokie. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. All right, Alicia, I'm gonna keep on cruising. You okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Of course. I want to read what Jan wrote because he said it better than I could. So this is it. If you focus on healing, he wrote you may. I'm going to say you will miss the full human experience of having a life. If you play life, which is what I was just talking about with the mythical nature of the 35th gene key, as full out as possible, healing is inevitable. We so often get stuck in these loops of how do I heal? And it's just reinforcing the belief that you need healing. You're whole already. We just have to remember that.
And this is just me living my purpose of precision and my life's work of initiative and awakening, right? But it literally, Jay, when you opened, it showed up. I mean, I wrote it down here like, hey, and we've had that conversation before. And it's like you said, there's so much focus on the healing that we miss out on living. And the moment we start living, healing will follow. And I'm not saying that whatever you experience, whatever any of us experience on the healing side, right? That's what we experience. So I don't want to downplay any of that. And on the other side, because Alicia, I hear you say that what you would love to do is braiding people's hair and the cuddling. I'm almost sure that if you would be in an environment where you could do that, you would feel instantly better. I'm not saying healing. I'm not saying everything physical will be gone. I'm not saying that whatever is showing up right now in your immune system will magically disappear. I mean, if only we could say that, right? And I know for sure you will feel differently, which impacts all of that. So this is what I find in my coaching is a lot of people keep hanging in what they don't want.
Yes.
And that's a natural tendency for human beings, where we do know what we do want or what would be good for us, and we're not taking the steps towards it. And I think if we just would put a little bit more of our energy into that, what we do want, I mean, that's the question I shared before. This thing from human design for me as a generator, a 5-1 generator, do I have the energy for this? And if I don't, bollocks, I'm not going to show up. I'm sorry. Of course, when I've got a commitment from a work environment, whatever, different conversation. But if somebody says, hey, would you like to do this today, tomorrow? If I'm invited to stuff and I'm like, I don't know, let me think about it. If it isn't a full 9 or a full 10, I don't go. I don't do it. And maybe the next day, ask me the same question and it will be a full 9 or a full 10. Wonderful, let's go. But right now, if I don't feel it, I don't feel it. And I'm not going to make myself crazy about it. Yes, people are disappointed. I mean, that happens. I mean, when my son comes to me and said, Dad, there's a new concert announced and I want to go. I want you to go with me. And I'm like, well, you know what? This group, I'm not sure. Or that date, I'm not sure. But you know what? Maybe when we are 2 or 3 days in front of the whole thing and you ask me again if we can find a ticket, I might just have the energy. But today, if you want me to commit, nah. Or, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Play.
Thank you.
Play.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So the way that I finally broke it open, because I was deep, dark for a while there. And what finally got it to move was, fuck this. I'm done healing. I'm just going to have some fun. And I just let it go. And I started to do fun shit for a little bit. And then the pathways started to open up again. And then I felt like I had the energy to be able to kind of revisit the healing, but this time in a totally different light. Like it totally shifted everything. So if there are any of you that are deep, dark, stuck right now, the tendency, the human tendency is, how can I make this better? But in that, you're focusing on that thing. You're keeping it stuck there. And it doesn't mean we ignore it, right? We still honor it. It still lives there. And we also have these other parts of ourselves that we can also honor. We are not only that. Keisha, I believe you are next on the agenda. And unfortunately, guys, this is probably, I mean, depending on how this goes, but my guess is this might be as far as we get today. So bear with me, but we'll circle back around for those of you that didn't get a shot on the next one, if you can make it. Keisha, to you. You're still muted, my dear.
It's so funny that you said that, because I'm like riddled with anxiety thinking, oh no, we only have a few minutes left and I'm going to suck up all the time.
Stop it.
And because when you asked that question in the beginning of what we would like to do here today, I was like, I would just like to share with confidence and no fear of expressing myself. And is it John? Is that how you pronounce your name? John? Do you have the 62 in your life's work? Is that what you said? I can't see it.
I have the 62 in my purpose. I have the 51 in my life's work.
Oh, okay. Well, I have this 62 in my life's work, and it's this terror of people thinking that I'm a know-it-all. And so that's funny, because then I'm like, oh my gosh, not only am I a know-it-all, but but I'm also, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I accidentally clicked off the screen. But I'm also,
I was like, why did she just drop the random F-bomb out of nowhere?
sorry. And so I have in the evolution psychosis. And so I loved that the solar plexus was the beginning of this topic, because I was like, okay, well, this is something that I can actually speak to, that I really think is beneficial. As a yoga instructor and a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, I work with the body and the mind in a very big way. And so I would love to just share this part, which is that the solar plexus, I share with all of my clients that in the chakra system, it is the color yellow. It's represented by the color yellow, like the sun. So the sun for the planet, as is the solar plexus for the human body. And so it's the power center and the processing center of the human body. And so it is where we absorb information from the outside world. It comes in through the belly. And so I work through with every person, breathing into the belly, imagining the brightest yellow that you've ever seen, like the yellow, like the sun, and knowing that we can absorb all of the information from the outside world, no matter positive or negative, because we live on planet Earth. So we have to be able to absorb everything, all the pollution, all the negativity, all of the things. And if we're properly functioning, we can process the information through the solar plexus. And it's not until we're able to actually process the information that we can then move the information up into the heart, which is the color green, like abundance, growth, prosperity, love, freedom. All of those things are represented by the color green. And I like to think of the word that Richard Rudd uses, veriditas, for this color. And so imagining the brightest green that you've ever seen, bringing that processed information up into the heart. And then once we are able to feel the information, because it's been processed, we can then move that information up into the brain, which, imagining the bluest sky you've ever seen, because the possibilities of what we can do with the information are literally infinite possibilities, like the sky. And so, there's this little thing about, like, I know that that could sound a little bit psychotic because it's actually really simple to do and it actually really works. But I promise that, like, because I've seen this happen in front of my very eyes with people within seconds when they're having this horrific thing happening in their sessions with me. And I actually say to them, breathe that feeling into every single cell of your body. And it could be truly the most horrific thing you could imagine. And once they're able to actually feel the pain, the suffering, all of the things, and sit and process that, it, like, the body naturally doesn't want to keep doing that. It just naturally wants to heal that and move on to the next thing. But we're trying to think with our mind, I have to let this thing go. I have to do this. I have to do that. And that just isn't going to work. And if we really truly believe that the body, like having the intellect in the life's work, the difference between the intellect and the actual intelligence of nature is a huge difference. And once we are able to allow nature and honor the intelligence of nature within our human body, miraculous things happen. So I hope that there's still time for someone else to share, because that's what I wanted to share today.
Can I ask a follow-up question to you for me?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so I had an experience the other day where I was meditating and the deepest, most orange of all time came flying over me. I mean, it was the depths of orange. And I know that that is sacral, but you started one above, so I'd just love to hear kind of the connection to the orange, if you want to speak into it at all.
Well, instantly. So when I work with people, I know that it's always an exchange. And right when you said that, based on the little bit that I know about you from joining these calls and things, instantly what I'm feeling is that you are obviously in this place where that you are so grounded within yourself that you are able to speak truth. Like I made the comment in the beginning, and I am thinking of fire right now. And like you are able to ignite things within people because of having such a strong foundation and grounding within yourself and who you are. And this is obviously what you're supposed to be doing. And so that's how I would interpret that orange that's showing up for you, because the things that you say only work because of that, knowing that of who you are as a person.
Yeah. So maybe it's like a kind of accessing new depth. Like I really feel like I'm falling into that now. Like this is a fairly new phenomenon, I think. Like I was always so scared of how I would be perceived that I would alter how I was showing up in the world. And I can say right now, I am not doing that and have not been doing that during this whole time. And it's pretty new. So I wonder if maybe that was a moment of like really dropping down into that place.
Yeah, I just keep hearing the word igniting. That's what keeps coming to me.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate you.
I appreciate you. So.
I want to just say too, interesting that I never noticed this before, but viridis, which is green in Latin, which is the heart, is veritas is truth in Latin.
Interesting.
So that is very close. I actually have a giant tattoo on my side that has equitas, which is justice, and veritas, which is truth, which I got way before I was into any of this. And now it makes a lot of sense. It also, I did not grow up Christian, right? And I have on that tattoo, there's a rosary, and on my back, I have a cross. I shit you not. You can't make this stuff up.
What? So you just reminded me. The other thing that's been coming in this past week for me is from the book of Thomas.
Mm-hmm. The Gospel of Thomas, yeah.
The Gospel of Thomas,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's come into my mind several times listening to this conversation, which I'm sure you're familiar with this. It's if you bring forth that which is within you, that which is within you will save you. If you do not bring forth that which is within you, that which is within you will destroy you.
Yes.
And so that's come through several times in this meeting today. And I think it's amazing.
And I believe that wholeheartedly. Those of you that don't follow me on Instagram, you can. It's actually, I was going to say my old one, which was Coach J. Cohen, but it's not that anymore because I hate the word coach. And I want to find another word. If anybody has another word for that for me, let me know.
Excuse you? You hate the word coach?
You can go by coach. I can go by coach. And so now I've changed my handle to not Jay Cohen, which I think is just one of the funniest things on planet Earth.
Yeah, now you're just an impersonator of Coach Jay Cohen.
Yeah, exactly. But what I wrote there, and the reason I'm bringing this in is it ties in of what was just shared of like, if you share it, it's the thing that brings you life. If you don't share it, it's the thing that destroys you. What I wrote is to be loved for making and sharing something from my heart is success. To be hated for making and sharing something from my heart is success. To never make or share anything from my heart, that's the only way to fail.
I love that.
And that is the truth.
Yeah.
Okay, now I've talked and taken away the time from the others. I apologize. I would normally go long, but I got to go scoop up my kiddo from school. We're changing these to the off weeks when I don't have her because she goes a week with me, a week with my ex, back and forth. So moving forward, I'll be able to go a little bit longer, but right now I'm not able to do that. So thank you all for being here today. I hope that I know this was kind of I'm playing with formats and really just playing how I show up in the world. So I hope that this was fairly, or at least a little bit helpful for some of you. I just want to remind you, or maybe if you weren't here, this will be the first time. Did I delete it off of oh no, there it is. That there's a schedule change upcoming. So right now we're going to have 3 weeks in between before we get to the next call. So typically it would normally be the 30th, but we're not going to do one on the 30th. And I'm going to kick it to the 6th. So the next one is the 6th of February, still at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is the same time as New York City. Yeah. Any closing thoughts, questions, anything from anyone? Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Keep
Thank you all
playing.
for being here.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.